You get a particular reputation, and then it's like taking a pillow, Roy, going up on top of the Empire State Building, tearing it up, letting all the feathers go out, and then 2 days later trying to retrieve every feather. You can't do it, and once that reputation's established, you can't retrieve it.
Pistol Pete, whose real name was Pete Maravich, was more than simply a basketball player. He was one of the most fascinating players in NBA history because of his inventiveness and flair. He was an artist and a magician with the ball. Pistol Pete, however, was more than just what was visible on the court. He studied the skills of the players who inspired him and was a student of the game, admiring greatness. Now, let's examine the 6 players who had the biggest influence on Pistol Pete and basketball in general. It was the cool genius, Walt Frazier. Walt Clyde Frazier was the player of the time who, both on and off the court, epitomized swagger and style. Pistol Pete was unable to contain his admiration for him. Frazier was not merely a master of defense. He made the game seem easy because he was a floor general. Frazier, who was well known for his ostentatious attire and dapper demeanor, used stifling defense to shut out opponents and expertly manage the Knicks' attack. In an interview, Pete once said,
"You're looking at Pistol Pete Maravich, in my opinion, the greatest playmaker playing today. Great passer, great shooter. A lot of people don't know this. He is wonderful in all these dexterity drills." Now, Pete, when did you start all this?
It comes out of a system I started around 6 or 7 years of age, what we call homework basketball, and takes in reaction drills, quickness drills to improve your quickness, your coordination, your confidence, and your overall ability to handle a basketball.
Well, actually, don't you get the feeling that when you're doing these things, the ball becomes sort of an extension of your hand?
Exactly. That's exactly how I felt when I was growing up. I dribbled so much, so many different ways.
Walt had grace. In everything he did, he was fluid. You could learn by simply observing his movements when you were playing against him. He made a dance out of a basketball. Pete was impressed by Frazier's ability to combine clutch plays with his amazing court awareness. During the NBA Finals in 1970, Frazier made one of the best performances of all time, dominating on defense and scoring 36 points and dishing out 19 assists against the Lakers. Maravich viewed that match as a masterclass in how to lead under duress. You sensed Frazier's presence on the court rather than merely watching him. He was in charge of the energy and the tempo. Pistol Pete found inspiration in it. Frazier demonstrated that style could coexist with efficiency as an artist. Pete recognized in Frazier the epitome of a calm, composed leader, someone who lived basketball, not just played it, and made a lasting impression that continues to motivate players today. The killer in the logo is Jerry West. One word frequently sprung to mind when Pistol Pete thought of West: unrelenting. Pete greatly admired West, better known as the logo, because he personified perseverance and clutch play. West did more than simply score points. He played each possession as though it were his last, and that unmatched drive enthralled Pete. Pat characterized West as the epitome of a rival in an interview. Every play, every shot, and every second he spent on that floor demonstrated his unwavering perseverance. Pete respected the way that West led the Lakers through heartbreak after heartbreak for years, prior to eventually winning that coveted title in 1972. Beyond his intense rivalry, Pete was particularly impressed by West's lethal jump shot. Jerry had a pure shot. It was like watching something from another planet, Pete once remarked. He gave the impression that scoring was simple, but it wasn't. Knowing how dangerous West's shooting form was in a pinch and how it terrified defenses, Pete studied it. As evidence of his excellence, Pete cited West's performance in the 1969 NBA Finals, where he became the first and only player to win Finals MVP despite losing the series. West made sure you left remembering him, even if you lost the game. Pete, that's power. Mirrored, West was the epitome of perseverance and determination. A player who ensured that every moment counted. You knew you were in a fight if you were playing a game with Jerry West. And Pete respected that with all his heart and soul. Jabbar, Kareem, the Tower of Elegance. A Pistol Pete used to frequently be in awe of Kareem, not only because of his skill, but also because of how elegantly he played. Kareem was a bright player who paired unmatched fundamentals with his enormous height. The move that made him untouchable, the skyhook, comes next. This shot is the most unstoppable in history. Pete once mentioned Kareem's trademark skyhook, without a doubt. He played deftly and softly, making it unfair to anyone watching him. He didn't only exploit his bulk. Kareem was too much for you to prepare for. Everyone, including Pistol Pete, was in awe of Kareem's skill at the skyhook, which was like witnessing basketball perfection. Despite being the league's all-time top scorer, Kareem was much more than his numbers. Off the court, Pete respected Kareem's embracing of knowledge, activism, and intelligence. Kareem gave everything careful attention, and his game reflected it. He represented the union of mental acuity and physical presence. Every great player aspires to two things. It was more than just motivational to watch Kareem change the course of history. It served as a lesson in how hard work and a dash of brilliance may lead to greatness. For Pistol Pete, Kareem was a basketball legend, a living example of how perseverance and ingenuity may permanently alter the course of events. The flight pioneer was Elgin Baylor. Baylor came like a comet and revolutionized the game during a time when most players were grounded and played in a regimented manner. For Pete, Baylor was more than just a sportsman. Every child had him. Dream, the type of athlete who encouraged you to pick up a ball, go outside, and take chances. Baylor was the original high flyer because of his ability to soar above the hoop and switch between explosive dunks and deft plays with ease. For future basketball players like Pete, he redefined what the sport might be by fusing creativity and agility. Pete once praised Elgin for showing everyone that you could play above the rim. He was decades ahead of his time, not merely ahead of his time. Basketball plays like his were unheard of before. It was like watching art come to life when you saw him. Not only was Baylor's manner flamboyant, but it was also always successful. His mid-range shooting and fundamentals made him unstoppable, forcing teams to respect him from anywhere on the court, even as his athletic plays and dunks left fans gaping. Pete was unable to stop talking about Baylor's incredible 61-point performance against the Celtics in the 1962 NBA Finals. Do you wish to discuss the heart? It was a magical game. The stakes were really high. In an interview, Pete remarked, and Baylor delivered like nobody else could. Not all of Baylor's skills were limited to shooting. He performed in each game as if it were his last, giving every possession his whole being. But the stat sheet was only one aspect of Baylor's greatness. Pete was profoundly touched by Baylor's humility and devotion. Even after leading the Lakers for many years and going through difficult times, Baylor never grumbled or faltered. Even though Baylor had the heartache of missing out on titles for a large portion of his career, Pistol Pete praised his team-first commitment, a reputation that ultimately brought him great respect in the basketball community. The smooth operator is Dave Bing. Even though Dave isn't often listed among the most famous names, Pistol Pete thought Bing was in a league of his own, a player who transformed basketball into a moving work of poetry. Bing was quiet but lethal, and his cool precision changed the game around him. Renowned for his brilliance on the court and his unrivaled, incredibly smooth scoring stroke, Bing would have no trouble breaking down defenses. For Pete, Bing was a craftsman who used strategic genius to shape games. Dave wasn't as boisterous as other players. Pete once remarked in amazement, he didn't need to be. He let his talent speak for itself, and boy, did he have a lot to say. Bing's performance was like witnessing the ideal harmony of style. Rival who has the potential to harm defenses in a variety of ways. When he got rolling, he was unstoppable. As they played together, Hudson, who was well known for his amazing jump shot and ability to score from all angles, motivated Pete. Not only a teammate, he served as a mentor who taught him how to achieve the greatest success while staying loyal to oneself. There wasn't much for Sweet Lou to say. Pete once praised him for letting his play speak for itself. Collectively, Pistol in the early 1970s, fans were enthralled with the Hawk squad that had Pete and Hudson. Pete used to say that Sweet Lou could light up a scoreboard, and there was no defense. in a league that, when in rhythm, could stop him. For Pete, he embodied the elegance of unadulterated talent and style, which characterized the NBA's top players. Pete's personal style of play was influenced by Sweet Lou, a symbol of elegance and accuracy. Pete pursued more than just brilliance. He studied it and gave thanks to those who came before him. They created a kaleidoscope of basketball genius that fueled his creativity and had a long-lasting effect on the game we know today. It's not just about the players, after all.